What's the worst scandal to happen at your school? History teacher disappeared in the night with a French teacher's wife and the other French teacher made national news for sexually abusing boys. Probably the time a girl gave a guy a BJ in the bathroom. The guy filmed it and sent it to his friend. His friend sent all around the school. Eventually, the police had to get involved because the one guy was guilty of distribution of child pornography. My high school guidance counselor fricked a science teacher's wife and everyone knew about it. They got a divorce. Both teachers still work at the same school to this day, and students will never ever let it go. The story has been handed down from year to year. Kids are brutal. We must never let our history die, must we? A teacher had an affair with a student. She was arrested and released on bail. Then a few days later she sent an email to other teachers saying it wasn't an affair but that she was actually being raped by the student and blackmailed. She even attached screenshots of texts. Later that day, she murdered her husband and committed suicide. The lunch lady was having sex with students and buying them alcohol. A kid in my senior year short story class, who sat directly behind me, was charged with the stabbing, beheading, and burning of one of his friend's drug dealer. I remember the day like it was yesterday, sitting in my short story class when my teacher came in tears because she just heard the news. Students didn't find out about it until later. I actually have a friend who testified in his trial because he purchased the murdering materials at the hardware store she worked at. Crazy, man. When in middle school, the school forced us to give our phones to the vice principal, and they would stay there locked during the day. They got stolen. Around 120 smartphones. Kid in my class sent an email to the White House, threatening to kill Socks, the Clintons' cat. Secret Service showed up a few days later after they tracked down the computer. First week of high school. P class, the first section was swim. Wasn't in my class, but the class after. This kid was playing a game with his friends in the water, who could hold their breath the longest. He was going up for air and hit head on the pointy part of the gutter, and never made it to the surface. Friends didn't notice, teacher didn't notice. Eventually, football players coming back to the locker rooms noticed. He ended up dying. Teacher was fired, although I wouldn't fully blame him as he was attending and teaching kids who didn't know how to swim or weren't strong swimmers. One adult for over 60 kids? That's the school's fault. I understand the teacher not noticing, but the friends who were directly competing with the kid didn't notice? Must have thought he was pretty darn good at breath holding. Still holds the school record. Student brutally murdered his parents. He was a friend and co-captain of the soccer team. His mom was my English teacher. The 30-ish theater teacher ran off with a recent graduate. I was kind of pals with the student during a play the spring before the scandal, and she hosted the cast party where in retrospect, they seemed a little cozier than appropriate. As much as I'm dying for the inside scoop, I can't imagine friending her on social media and asking, "So what was up with you and Mr.?" During middle school a few kids sold weed and someone that bought some smoked it in the building, which was just stupid. The kid that sold it to him didn't want to get in trouble, so he pulled the fire alarm so people wouldn't find the kid. We all got to go home afterwards. A girl in my middle school was telling people she had a hit list of people she was going to kill. Got caught with the list, and was sent to a hospital for a while. She came back a few years later in high school. Long story short, the principal got arrested for hiding cameras in the bathroom. This was back in elementary. He was a total freaking creep. Two things. Both in middle school. 1. I was at home on a Sunday watching the news with my mom when all of a sudden my 6th grade teacher's mugshot showed up and it said that her and her husband were pulled over and the police found like 6 pounds of high-grade weed, lead to a search warrant for their home, and they literally slept on an inflatable mattress. The whole house was a grow-up. She did look like a hippie, but I don't understand, she was not mellow at all. She was a bitch. 2. In 8th grade, one of my friend's parents had cancer. He thought it was a good idea to bring some of their meds to school and hand them out like candy. These were strong meds, and not all of them were pain pills. At least 5 kids overdosed, 2 of them had seizures. No one died, thankfully. I was in 4th or 5th grade and someone sketched in the middle school bathroom not to go on school Friday or I will bang bang. This was then brought to the attention of the county and state police, and we didn't have school that day, and the police searched everyone's lockers for a firearm. In middle school, 8th grade, early 2000s, one of the hot girls sent a couple nude pictures to her BF, and it wasn't long until half the school had them. Police ended up becoming involved to make sure all copies were destroyed. In high school, there was a little scandal involving the teachers and a teachers club called the Hot Tub Club. Faculty members that had hot tubs would host a weekly hot tub party with other hot tub owners. Turns out they were all getting wasted and having a swinging party every Wednesday. Somebody's spouse found out about it and there was a huge exodus of hot tub teachers my senior year. Edit. The main people involved with the photo were reprimanded but not charged. The girl had a sit-down with a counselor to discuss what happened. And we all had a big assembly to discuss the consequences that could happen if people shared those kind of images. It scared a lot of kids straight. Nobody was fired from the school for being in the hot tub club. Teachers left because it was convenient timing with the opening of another high school, and there was constant babble about it. We had a few. Some standouts. Student hid a pregnancy from her parents. She ended up giving birth at home and killed the baby. Teachers sexually harassed students. Students engaged in sexual acts at the nearby church, where all our masses occurred, and we, the student body, were then banned for having our masses at the church. The caretaker killed 2 local girls and hid them in the school. He tried using the clay kiln to burn them. He later dumped them a few miles away. Headmaster was sent to prison for being a pedophile. Sophomore year, a girl in my grade passed on a solid yellow up a hill, hit a family in a car, and killed both parents and one of the kids. A week later she's back at school in a brand new pickup truck, and never faced any sort of trial or anything. Her parents were extremely large farmers in the small rural town and had influence in the local court systems, I'm sure. Oh, did I mention she excitedly showed off her new truck when she came back? Frick you, Taylor. A girl died in the pool during an event at the school. The swim teacher was blamed and was prosecuted. The girl who died was at my sister's class. Both were 7 at the time. That happened over 10 years ago, but the parents haven't had another child since. She was their only kid. The entire 11th grade of my school visits a concentration camp each year, and 2 years ago someone brought weed, so 20 students were expelled and 15 suspended. Even the police got involved. Weed isn't legal yet here. The principal slept with a student and his nudes and sex were leaked. Kid made a chlorine bomb and threw it in the trash can at lunch. Lockdown, bomb squad, every single kid and faculty member out on the field in 95 degrees weather for 2+ hours until parents could show up to pick up their kids. A girl gave a guy a BJ behind a building, her braces got stuck on his pee-pee, he pulls back, pee-pee bleeding, punches her in the mouth, she goes and tells the principal, parents get called in. He yells, "She cut my pee-pee," while the door was open. Everyone knew then. An overachieving student in my year went nuts and pooped in a bag in a teacher's classroom. She also thought she could run up trees. Turns out she didn't, end up skipping a few years and going to uni early like she was predicted to do. Some dude with a tiny little pecker sent a picture of it, unsolicited, to a girl, and she sent it to all his friends. Wasn't long before like half the school had seen it. Not that scandalous. A friend's stuff kept going missing, like books and pens. It didn't stop even after multiple complaints from him, and the teachers didn't really care. His mom screamed at the teachers and the principal did her own investigation and concluded that it was a boy who stole from that guy. The principal decided to call the male students' parents to talk to them. After a year, it turns out that the thief was a girl and she yeeted the guy's stuff out the window because the guy was bullying her. What scandal happened at your school? Share it with us in the comments section.